finally educate myself by reading Sarah J. Maas. So I'm going to be reading A Court of Thorns and A Court of Thrones and Raisins. If you're new here, I'm Rachel. This is Let Me in the Library, and today I'm going to do my December TBR. First off, I just want to say thank you so much for 400 subscribers. I actually have seen some of the numbers start climbing, and now I want to say thank you for 420 subscribers. Thank you very much. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much for watching, and if you want to become a subscriber, hey, that button's down there. And I also have all of my socials where I am way more active than I am posting on YouTube. Without further ado, let's get into my December TBR. So if you're new here, I actually do a game with 20-sided dice. I have all of the prompts listed down there, but I'm going to go through exactly what I rolled, exactly what it means. And on top of that, I also want to actually reinforce that every time I roll 6 dice altogether, I also get this 4-sided dice. And the last few months, I just didn't even mention it. I didn't even use it. But this month, I actually used it twice because each time there was a particular roll I just, for whatever reason, didn't really want, and that's what this allows me to do. I roll it, and then any prompt that I pick, I can move up or down on the list according to whatever number is on this nice little dice. So we are going to get into the TBR now. I'm going to show you exactly what I rolled, and then I'm going to show you what I chaotically decided to roll right before filming this video, because, listen, 2020 is full of chaos, and apparently we're going into 2021 with the exact same energy. So here's what I rolled first, and then I'm gonna immediately after that show you the B-roll of what I rolled right before this video. Okay, we have a 14, a 9, a 1, a 5, an 18, and a 15. I want to try actually rolling a D4 for once. 2. Okay, so that means that I can move any one of my prompts 2 spaces up or down. 2, a 6, a 6, a 3, a 12, and a 15. I'm just going to roll to change this to something else. 3. I don't know if you can see that actually. It's a 3. The first time that I rolled, I filmed that a little while ago. I am pretty sure the first time that I rolled my dice, I got a 2, and I just didn't really want that. So I used the D4 and I rolled it, and then I moved that prompt up the list, and I actually went all the way around and I got a 19. So that's gonna be what I have listed out. I got a 15 again when I rolled the second set of dice, and 15 means that my cat Sasha picks my TBR, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I had just already gotten that for this whole TBR in general, so I thought, let's spice it up, let's do something different. So I moved that one as well to 18, which means that I get to read a graphic novel or a manga. So now let's go through what I picked for each of the rolls that I got. First off, I got a 2, which I just could not avoid. So I got to pick a long book, which I define as a book that's 400 pages or more. So I found a book that's exactly 400 pages that works for this prompt, and that's The Afterlife of Holly Chase. This is the pick for the Whiners Book Club. This is a Christmas Carol retelling, I believe, which is basically about this girl named Holly who is like a Scrooge, where she's just not really a good person, and I do believe she gets visited by these 3 ghosts of past, present, future, and they're like, "You should change," and she's like, no. So she continues to be a bad person. I believe she then dies, and then she has to kind of suffer the consequences. Now she's stuck working for the top secret company, Project Scrooge, as the latest ghost of Christmas past. Every year they save another miserly grouch. Every year, Holly stays frozen at 17 while her family and friends go on living without her. So far, Holly's afterlife has been miserable, but this year, everything is about to change. While I have you here, let me just briefly promo the Whiners Book Club, because we're going to be discussing this book at the end of the month. This month, it's going to be on Sasha's channel. I believe we're aiming for December 30th. And if you're interested, we're going to have our Twitter, our Instagram, all that good stuff where we're going to announce everything, and I'm going to have that in the description down below so you can follow along with us. The next roll that I got was a 3, which is for a TBR veteran. Now, I don't know if you've been watching my channel for a while, but I had this really stupid July TBR where I just listed so many books where there was no way I was going to get to all of them, and one of those was This is How You Lose the Time War. And I decided to pick this back up again, and Sid from Sid Bookworm and I are going to actually buddy read this live. I guess we're gonna see who can finish the book first, but honestly, it's all in good fun. It's just gonna be a fun little reading sprint, so definitely check out Sid's channel. I will link that show whenever it becomes available, but I'm also just gonna promo Sid's channel because it's also really awesome and you should check it out. Next up was a 5, which is Spin the Bottle, and I was so excited about this because I never actually get to do this, so I very quickly picked up a Snapple, drank the whole thing. I know you need to know what the Snapple fact is, and the Snapple fact is Vermont is the only New England state without a seacoast. And now what I do is I just lay out a whole bunch of books and I take my bottle and I spin the bottle. And of course, whatever it points to is what I'm gonna read. So this time it landed on Dash and Lily's Book of Dares. I'm really excited about this one. I actually just recently watched the whole Netflix show and I am so psyched about this. This is a cute little story about these 2 teenagers who live in New York. One of them decides to leave a notebook in the Strand bookstore and they leave a bunch of clues, kind of like a scavenger hunt for somebody to find. And if they're able to solve all of these clues, then they can write their own note and leave something behind. By way of this notebook, these 2 teens begin corresponding and they kind of lead each other to all these different experiences around New York where they'll leave the notebook. But I'm such a sucker for the stories where there's 2 people who are falling in love, but they don't really know each other because they're communicating by like letters or something like that, where they don't really meet face to face yet. And I'm so excited because it's New York, it's scavenger hunts, it's in a bookstore that used to not be problematic. So hey, I'm really excited about this book anyway. And actually I'm doing this as a part of a read along that Manda over at Ginger Snapped Reads is hosting this month. Manda basically came up with this idea for everyone to read the book and also watch the Netflix show. And what we're gonna do is just kind of host these tiny little watch parties, tiny little book discussions amongst the members of the read-along, which are all together on the Discord. And at the end of it, we're all gonna have a party where we will all dress up in our Christmassy clothes, have Christmas cookies, and just do a cute live show and talk about the book, the movie, all the fun stuff, and love. Oh, I love it. I'm so excited about it. I think this might be like my most anticipated book out of this whole TBR, but we're gonna see. Next up, I got 2 6s, which means that I have to do 2 buddy reads. So I am gonna do one of those with Mel from Mel Reads, and we're gonna read 6 of Crows this month. I only have that on my Kindle, but that's okay. I have been meaning to read this book for a really long time. We're gonna finally read this book. It's gonna be great. I really want Mel to read this because she is like pretty new to BookTube, so this is like that big BookTube staple that neither of us have really experienced yet, and I just think it's going to be really fun to finally buddy read something together. So that's going to be great, and I'm really excited for it. Second buddy read that I'm going to do this month is Wotakoi, which is a manga about these 2 people who are nerds, basically. They are really into video games, they're really into anime, they're really into just really nerdy stuff, and they kind of feel like because they're so obsessed with these things that they can never find love. And I believe that they are co-workers at a company and they sort of commiserate together about their different struggles, and I assume they're going to fall in love, but I think it's just generally like a cute idea. I started reading it already and it already seems like a great read. I'm gonna be buddy reading this with Lou and Lois. This was Lois's pick for this month, so it's gonna be really fun to read this together. Next up, I rolled a 9, which corresponds to adult science fiction fantasy, and for this I'm gonna take the opportunity to grab a book I was supposed to finish last month, and that is Authority. This is my bind up of the book, so it's actually not this thick, but Authority is the 2nd book in the Southern Reach trilogy. I loved Annihilation. I have been talking about reading Authority for the longest time and I just never do it. So I'm actually currently reading it right now. So I'm actually going to get this out of the way before 2020 is over, and it's gonna happen. You heard it here first, folks. You've heard it here 6 times already, folks. but this is the time and it's gonna happen. Next up, I rolled a 12, which means that I need to read a new to me author. So what better author to pick than Sarah J. Maas, right? Like, everybody's talking about her all the time. I need to finally educate myself by reading Sarah J. Maas. So I'm going to be reading A Court of Thorns and A Court of Thrones and Raisins. I'm going to be reading A Court of Thorns and Roses, not A Court of Thrones and Raisins. You know what? This is hard to say. ACOTAR. No wonder there are acronyms for this. So I'm going to be reading ACOTAR this month. I am going to attempt to read it. This is actually like a lot bigger than I thought it was, but don't take that as a fairy dick joke because I haven't read it yet. And don't worry, when I read it, I'll make lots of fairy dick jokes, just not yet. I'm gonna be reading this because Mel is hosting a read-along for all of the books, and this is the first month, and this is the first book, and I'm gonna give it a try. We're gonna see. I have no idea if I'm gonna like this or hate it. I don't know. I hope it's gonna be a fun time. I rolled a 14, which corresponds to the Own Voices prompt, and for this I picked Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. This is a book that I've heard about for so long, and I just don't know why I never picked it up, so I think it's finally time. I'm pretty excited about reading this one. And also, of course, obviously, I'm going to get the audiobook where Lin-Manuel Miranda is also narrating the story, so I can hear his beautiful voice. That's right. I said it. I know that there's like good LGBTQ rep in here, so I am excited about trying this. I don't really know what it's about, but I do believe it's about two teenage boys who meet and have a special connection. Next up, Sasha came through and she picked my next book for the 15 roll. When I roll a 15, my cat picks my TBR, so I take a whole bunch of treats and I put them on some books, and then I stick her in the middle of that circle, and then I see whatever treat she picks up first, and that's the book that I read for that month. So this month she landed on A Deadly Education, which is perfect because I didn't read this last month. So I'm gonna attempt to read this for real this month. This is that one that's like a murdery school thing. This is a slightly controversial book because I heard there was some bad representation, but I'm just gonna give it a shot and see what I think of it. I got 2 18 rolls, and that means that I get to read a graphic novel or a manga. So I already talked about Wodokoi, and that's not what I'm gonna use for this. Actually, what I'm gonna use are the picks for the Host Club book club. The Host Club is a club that I have with a whole bunch of other booktubers that are big geeks like me, and we all love anime, we all love manga, and what we do is every month we rotate whose channel we're gonna have the live show on, and that host picks 3 volumes of a popular manga and 1 volume of a less popular manga. We read all of them together, and then we discuss them on the live show. So this month we're going to be reading One Punch Man. I'm so excited about this. Okay, first of all, there is a webcomic of the original drawings because the story artist could not draw, but had great stories to tell. I highly recommend checking out the webcomic if you could find it, but this is the serialized manga. It's more of like the more beautiful art, I would say, but I have a special place in my heart for the webcomic, so you know I'm going to read that as well. We're going to be reading the first 3 volumes of One Punch Man, and then I'm also going to pick up the first volume of Sweat and Soap. Sweat and Soap, I think, is supposed to be a really funny comedy. This follows a girl who sweats a lot and a guy who is so attracted to the scent of her sweat, and I don't know if he just gets like so obsessed with her that he's like, I'm in love with you and your sweat, because what a guy. I heard this is really funny. Some people have already started reading this from the club and they've been saying that it's so funny. So I want to check that out. It seems so ridiculous, but I think it's also going to be a really funny thing. We're going to be reading these 3 and that one, and if you want, you can definitely join us. I'll have the Discord down below, our Twitter. This month we're going to do it over on Kitty's channel, so I will leave the link to the live show whenever it becomes available in the description down below. Lastly, I rolled a 19, which means that I get to read a book that was recommended to me by a friend. So I'm going to read Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. This was recommended to me by Nitty. I know this is one of her favorite thrillers, or maybe her favorite thriller, so I want to read this. I'm going to be actually reading this along with Nitty and Susan, and we're going to do a live show in January and talk about it. I only know what I know from the movie, so I assume that it's going to be pretty similar. Unfortunately, that means I kind of already know the twist, but I am curious because I did recently see people talking about this on Twitter. All know that we can't just take our opinions from Twitter, but it definitely was pointing out some stuff that I'm really interested to see in this book. Hold that phone. Wait. Okay, the TBR is not over yet. I just did all my rolls. I explained all that stuff, but you know that I'm not done. I'm too chaotic to simply just stick with what one TBR game is and just be like, I'm done. I have more stuff to talk about. So first, we're going to talk about the Disney Channel Games Readathon. This is a readathon that's being hosted by a whole bunch of different people on BookTube. And if you remember Disney Channel back in the day, there were all these celebrities, they would be on different color teams, they would all compete in these really fun games, and at the end of it, one team would rise victorious. So this time we're doing kind of the same thing. This is a readathon that's based on all those games, and I am repping the red team. I'm not wearing any red. The two leaders of the red team are Kirsten and Amanda, and we have so many people, so many awesome people that are on the red team right now. What's interesting about this readathon is you're only allowed to read these books during a certain time frame, which is the time frame of the challenge. There are different activities that go along with each of these prompts, and there's just that time frame when you're allowed to start and finish the book. So hopefully I'll be able to make that work with the books that I have. Some of the books that I have for this are ones that I did not mention already, and other ones I am pulling from my dice game to see if I can make them work in this readathon as well. For the first challenge, it's alphabet goop. You take a random letter generator and you have it generate a letter for you. I'm going to have that up on the screen and it's going to show you that I got a B. So then you have to find a book or an author that starts with that letter and read that book during this time frame. I'm going to be using Backtrack, which is an arc I got a little while ago. This is a graphic novel that is about these people who are in like a time race. So they're racing their cars through time, and they're kind of stuck in this weird game and they don't really understand why it's all happening. The next challenge is Simon Says, and for this you're supposed to read a book that was recommended to you. I already talked about Gone Girl. I'm actually going to use Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe because I know Elise loves this book, and a while ago she was talking about it on her channel and I said, oh my god, I like that book, and she was like, you should read it, and now I'm gonna read it. So this is my pick for that. The next challenge is Obstacle Course, so you need to read a book that's very action-packed, has lots of twists and turns. So I'm gonna be obviously reading One Punch Man because, hey, he punches. He's so strong. The next challenge is Dunk Tank, so you need to read a book that has something to do with water, and I'm gonna be reading The Grim Grotto. I was supposed to read this last month too, I know. Don't even come for me in my comments, I already know. So I'm buddy reading this with Aline from Pygmy Puff Reads. We're trying to read all of the Series of Unfortunate Events books. I don't know what's happening. We're a month behind. I'm really sorry. I think that's probably my fault. This is about the Baudelaire children as they are continuing their journey to discover the secrets of this organization and try to take down this terrible villain, Count Olaf. So this is the 11th book, I think. Yes, this is the 11th book, and we're going to be trying to read this month. The last challenge is Egg Toss, and for this you're supposed to buddy read a book. I'm going to be using This Is How We Lose the Time War for this. I already kind of talked about that and how we're going to be buddy reading this live on Sid's channel, so that's some great proof for you, Red Team. I am so excited about this readathon. So from my last month's TBR game, I actually still have Kingdom of Copper left over, so I'm going to be finishing that up this month. This is Kingdom of Copper, which is the second book in the Dabbabad trilogy. I really loved the first book. I talk about it all the time, so I'm going to be reading this one. I am about halfway through it right now, so hopefully I can also finish this in December. The last two books that I want to talk about are Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. This is a book I'm trying to buddy read with Casey and Manda this month, but I'm waiting for my hold to come in because I had it and then I let it go by accident, and now I'm waiting for it again. It says 1 month, but is it going to be 1 month? Give me my book. I'm excited about Anxious People because I think it's about a lot of hostages that were taken during a bank robbery and how anxious they are and the various different facets of their life and how this affects them, I assume. I'm really pulling at straws here, I think you could tell. And the last book that I want to talk about is The Poppy War. Oh my god, yeah, I know, I talk about this all the time. I am currently buddy reading this with a whole bunch of people that are on the red team of the Disney Channel Games Readathon. So we are trying to read 5 chapters per week. I am obviously behind, but I already read it, so it's not so bad. And I just want to read it again because I have obviously outed myself as a person with no reading comprehension because I was talking about this with Nitty and Susan and I was like, oh my god, it's really good, except I don't even know who this person is. And then Nitty read it and was like, what? I don't even remember who Kate is. I don't know. I just saw a whole bunch of people being like, oh my god, my small freckled baby. And I'm like, from what? And they're like, the Poppy War. And I'm like, what? But I want to actually read this physically because I read it I audiobook last time, and I guess I probably just missed a few threads here and there, like an entire character. So I'm gonna give it another shot this time. So that is it for my December TBR. I'm gonna have all the information for everybody that I mentioned, all of the live shows, all of the book clubs, all that stuff in the description down below. So definitely check that out if there's anything that caught your fancy while you were watching this. And thank you again for watching. If you want, you can subscribe, and don't forget to like this video so that I know that you liked it. Thanks so much for watching. I'm Rachel, this is Let Me in the Library, and I'll see you next time.